You're watching MH Nation. Get the latest NBA news, transfer rumors, and match updates fast. Like, share, and subscribe to stay ahead of the game.
Welcome to the Lakers Highlights Today channel. Before we get to the news, please leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Now, let's get to the Lakers news. The arrival of Zaire Williams made many people believe that the Los Angeles Lakers had finally wrapped up their moves this offseason. But anyone who closely follows the team's front office knows this story is far from over. Quite the opposite. While most of the NBA is focused on massive contracts, blockbuster trades, and negotiations dominating the headlines, the Lakers' front office appears to be working quietly, analyzing every available opportunity to turn a promising roster into a legitimate championship contender. And when a franchise of this magnitude starts operating behind the scenes, there's usually a much bigger plan taking shape. The question that is beginning to energize Lakers fans is simple. What will be the next piece of the puzzle built around Luka Dončić? Ever since the organization decided to build a new identity for the team, it became clear that offensive talent alone would not be enough to compete with the elite teams in the Western Conference. Luka Dončić remains one of the most dominant players on the planet, capable of taking over games almost single-handedly. But NBA history has shown that championships are won by complete teams, especially those capable of playing elite defense when it matters most. That is exactly where the Lakers appear to be focusing all of their efforts. The front office understands there is still a significant gap on the roster, and ignoring that problem could prove extremely costly once the playoffs arrive. It is in this context that a name begins to gain momentum, one that perhaps was not among the fans' favorites just a few weeks ago, but makes a great deal of sense when analyzing the franchise's strategy. Matisse Thybulle remains available on the market, and according to reports coming from around the league, he has become a player the Lakers are monitoring closely. At first glance, this may seem like just another off-season rumor, but when multiple sources point toward the same interest, it becomes difficult to believe it is merely a coincidence. There is a reason the franchise is carefully watching a player known precisely for what this current roster lacks the most: elite perimeter defense. When you look at the bigger picture, everything starts to make sense. The Lakers know that facing teams like Oklahoma City, Denver, Minnesota, or Houston requires much more than offensive stars. They will need players capable of containing explosive guards, physical wings, and scorers who can create advantages on every possession. That is exactly the type of role Thybulle has built his reputation on throughout his career. Even without impressive offensive numbers, he has become one of the league's most respected defenders thanks to his intensity, basketball IQ, and ability to frustrate opposing scorers throughout an entire game. But perhaps the most important point is something else entirely. The Lakers' front office seems determined to make every dollar invested count. Instead of taking huge risks on expensive contracts, the franchise is looking for players capable of making an immediate impact at a relatively low cost. This philosophy allows them to preserve financial flexibility while strengthening specific areas of the roster. It is a smart approach for a team that already has its franchise superstar and now needs players capable of maximizing the system around him without compromising the organization's future. Meanwhile, another detail has drawn significant attention behind the scenes. For any new addition to arrive, the Lakers will likely need to create space on the roster. That means some players currently on the team could be entering their final days wearing the purple and gold. Several names that have appeared in recent trade rumors are once again surfacing in internal discussions, fueling even more speculation about potential moves in the coming days. This possibility makes the entire situation even more intriguing because every decision made by the front office could significantly reshape the roster before the season even begins. Lakers fans know that small changes can produce massive results when a team already has a solid foundation. Many times, the player who decides a playoff series is not necessarily a superstar, but someone who comes off the bench to neutralize the opponent's best scorer, come up with key steals, or completely change the team's defensive intensity. The Lakers appear to believe exactly that, and perhaps that is why a seemingly under-the-radar name is receiving so much attention at this moment. If you follow every Lakers update every day and want to understand every detail of these negotiations before everyone else, stay tuned because this offseason still promises plenty of surprises, and the coming days could reveal a move that very few expected but could make all the difference in the franchise's journey back to the top of the NBA. As more information emerges from inside the organization, it becomes increasingly clear that the Lakers' interest in Matisse Thybulle is not an impulsive decision. The front office has been carefully evaluating the market for defensive wings since the beginning of the offseason, recognizing that the roster still has a major weakness when it comes to containing the league's top scorers. The arrival of Zaire Williams added youth and potential, but the coaching staff understands that competing through a long season requires experienced players capable of taking on difficult defensive assignments from the opening tip. That is exactly why Thybulle is now viewed as an extremely intriguing option. Although his offensive averages are not eye-catching, his impact extends far beyond traditional statistics. Throughout his career, Thybulle has built a reputation as a perimeter defensive specialist, using his speed, outstanding positioning, and quick hands to generate steals, deflect passes, and make life difficult for the NBA's best guards and wings. On a team led by Luka Dončić, who naturally carries much of the offensive responsibility, having a player willing to do the toughest work on defense could provide incredibly valuable balance. And this is where the story becomes even more interesting. To turn this interest into an official signing, the Lakers will need to open up a roster spot. Names such as Jared Vanderbilt, Dalton Knecht, and Jake LaRavia have all appeared in different rumors throughout the summer and continue to be mentioned as possible trade candidates. Even if no major trade materializes, there remains the possibility that the franchise pursues simpler alternatives to create an available roster spot, demonstrating that there is a clear plan behind every move being made. At the same time, Jonathan Kuminga continues to emerge as another target being monitored by the organization. However, his financial situation makes any potential deal significantly more complicated, especially given the salary expectations surrounding his next contract. This scenario makes Thybulle a much more affordable alternative, allowing the Lakers to strengthen what they consider a priority position without sacrificing financial flexibility. If the strategy truly follows this path, the franchise could improve its defense, preserve resources for future moves, and enter next season with a more balanced roster capable of competing in the Western Conference. If this move actually happens, its impact could extend far beyond simply adding another player to the rotation. The Lakers are attempting to build an identity completely different from the one that defined the franchise over the past several seasons. With Luka Dončić assuming the role of unquestioned leader on the court, the front office's priority has become surrounding him with players who complement his greatest strengths, especially those capable of elevating the team's defensive level without needing the ball in their hands. That is exactly why Matisse Thybulle's profile generates so much internal interest, even without the star status that usually dominates the NBA market. When you analyze the reality of the Western Conference, this need becomes even more apparent. The competition is expected to be one of the most balanced in years, with several teams featuring deep rosters and highly talented wings. In a playoff series, every possession can determine the outcome of a game, and having a defensive specialist assigned to the opponent's top scorer could become a decisive advantage. The Lakers understand that relying solely on offensive talent will likely not be enough to overcome opponents with highly organized team systems. But there is another important factor in this equation. If Jonathan Kuminga remains financially out of reach for the franchise, signing Thybulle stops being merely an economical alternative and instead becomes the smartest option under the current market conditions. That would allow the front office to preserve flexibility for future moves throughout the season while still addressing one of the roster's biggest weaknesses. When you put all the pieces of this puzzle together, it becomes clear that the Lakers' strategy follows a very specific plan. Instead of chasing headline-grabbing names, the organization is focused on building a balanced, competitive roster capable of enduring the demands of a long season. If this philosophy produces the expected results, the signing of a player like Matisse Thybulle could one day be remembered as one of the quietest, and at the same time one of the most important, moves of the offseason, helping the franchise take another step toward returning to the top of the NBA. Regardless of who ultimately joins the roster, one thing seems increasingly clear: the Lakers have not finished their work this offseason. The front office continues to carefully evaluate the market in search of the right pieces to surround Luka Dončić with a roster capable of competing for a championship, and every decision made now could make a tremendous difference once the season begins. Matisse Thybulle may not be the flashiest signing, but he could be exactly the type of player who helps championship teams win crucial games thanks to his defensive commitment and ability to change the pace of a game coming off the bench. Now we want to hear your opinion, Lakers fans. Do you believe Matisse Thybulle is the best option to strengthen the Lakers defense? Or would you rather see the franchise continue pursuing a deal for Jonathan Kuminga? Leave your answer in the comments below. Until next time, Lakers Nation.